Growing up, I never knew what my mom looked like. Whenever I asked my dad about her, he'd quickly point out the window to distract me. Dad was a deep-sea sailor, which meant he was always far away from home. Most days, it was just me, all alone in a silent house, until the day Dad hired a maid to look after me. She cooked the most amazing meals and treated me with a gentleness I had never felt before. Over time, I grew to truly care for her. One evening, while brushing my hair, she looked at me with a soft smile and whispered,
"You could call me Mommy from now on."
I froze. I looked at her, my heart racing. "I really like you, but I only have one mom, the one who gave birth to me," I said. Her face completely dropped. She looked heartbroken, but I couldn't bring myself to lie. The very next afternoon, a screeching alert flashed across the living room TV. The news anchor's voice trembled. A massive Category 5 storm has struck the coast. A local sailing crew had gone completely missing at sea. Before the tears could even hit my cheeks, the maid started tearing through the house. She grabbed every valuable item she could fit in her bags. I begged her to stop, but she just sneered at me.
"I was only nice to you because I wanted to marry your rich father, but he's gone now. You're on your own, brat."
And just like that, she slammed the door and vanished. Completely desperate and entirely alone, I ran all the way to the stormy beach, collapsing into the wet sand and crying my heart out. "Please come back, Dad!" I screamed into the ocean. Suddenly, a warm, blinding light washed over the shore. When I opened my eyes, a breathtaking angel was standing right in front of me. She knelt down, wiping a tear from my cheek. "Don't cry, my love," she whispered. Then she told me that she was my mom, that she fell in love with my dad years ago, but the heavens wouldn't allow her to stay on Earth, and she'd been watching over me from afar the entire time. I gasped as a figure emerged from the thick fog behind her. It was Dad. She saved him from the depths of the storm. For a few beautiful, magical seconds, our family was finally reunited, but the heavens were calling her back. As she began to fade into glowing stardust, I tightly gripped her hand, begging her not to leave us again. She pressed her hand against my heart and gave me one final, unforgettable smile. She said she was never truly leaving me. She was right by my side, always. As she vanished into the sky, a deep peace washed over me. I finally understood what she meant. It took much more than just the eyes to see the things that mattered most. Because just like my mom said, what is essential is invisible to the eye. My ex-boyfriend Ryan was an idiot. That was what I know about him then. You might be wondering why I was staying with him that late. We were having a science project and he just couldn't finish his part. I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and when I got back, he looked like he had seen a ghost. I walked in and he was shivering, staring at black screen like it was a bomb. Then he ran to the window and shut the curtain down. There was an open chat window. He'd been trolling some sketchy forum on the dark web. There was an open chat window. It was a close-up of me, right in this room. The caption? "She looks hot." The next morning, a guy in a sharp suit knocked on our door. He said he was an investigator monitoring cyber threats in our neighborhood. He looked right at me, smiled, and told me to keep my devices offline. I finally felt like I could take a breath. Safe. The next day, as I was walking home, the investigator approached me. He wanted me to go with him because the police had caught the suspect. As he was driving the car, I asked him about the case, but he fidgeted, then pulled out a mask to put on his face. A weird gas rushed into the car and everything turned into black. When I opened my eyes again, I was locked inside a small, strange room. My hands were tied up and my mouth was bandaged. I couldn't move or screamed for help. I was hopeless and exhausted. Then the door opened and I saw my boyfriend Josh barging inside. He was about to rescue me, then the investigator came in and hit him on the head. That jerk asked us to call our parents and told them to bring $2 million to get us out. That night, he brought us to the agreed location to get the money. When we got there, a bag full of money was waiting for him. He pushed us to the ground, took the bag, and ran away. But the police was faster than him, as he was splitting the money with his accomplice, who was surprisingly my ex Ryan. The police came in and caught them. Turned out Ryan was behind all this. He was put in jail after all that he'd done to me. For me, I later got married to my brave and good-looking boyfriend, because why not? Me and my best friend were both orphans until a woman came and adopted us. She made us stay in the 2 biggest rooms in the house and bought us many beautiful toys. For the first time in my life, I knew what a happy home looked like. One day, my adoptive mom barged into my room and told me she couldn't let me stay in the house anymore. She said she kept seeing someone appearing in her room at midnight, telling her to kick me out. She said she couldn't sleep and that I was bad luck. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there and started to cry. My sister came in and begged her to keep me. She finally let me stay, but I only could sleep in the garage and eat when my family had gone to sleep. At least my sister wasn't completely heartless. At night, she'd sneak outside to bring me a warm blanket and her favorite stuffed teddy bear so I wouldn't feel completely alone. I tried to be helpful by doing all the laundry and cooking. At first, my mom was moved, but after one meal, both my mom and my sister got food poisoning. I was kicked out completely. It was midnight and I had nowhere to go. I sat on the curb in the freezing rain, holding the teddy bear, feeling like nobody cared if I lived or died. Then, a massive black luxury car stopped right in front of me. A wealthy, kind older man stepped out. He saw me shivering, smiled gently, and pointed to the back seat. He took me to the biggest mansion I had ever seen, gave me my own wing of the house, and treated me like a real daughter. Before he passed away years later, he held my hand and said, "Everything I own now belongs to you." One day, there was a frantic knock at at my front door. I opened it and my jaw dropped. It was my ex-family. Turned out my ex-mom's business decisions completely bankrupted them. They lost the estate and had absolutely nothing left. My best friend literally knelt on my doorstep begging me to take them in. My ex-mom stood behind her looking entirely ashamed. It was getting late and I couldn't let them stay in the dark. I allowed to stay in the house until I thought it through. That night when I was sleeping, I heard a strange noise at the doorstep. When I opened my eyes, my ex-mom was standing right next to me. She told me a shocking truth about my best friend, but I still couldn't believe it. The next day I got some things to do, so I got out of the house early in the morning. When I got back, my ex-mom and my best friend were no longer there, and every valuable thing in the house was taken away with them. Just then, I received a call from the police station, and when I arrived there, I saw my best friend standing next to the police officer looking totally ashamed. Turned out what my ex-mom told me the other night was right. It all started from my best friend. She disguised as the ghost in my ex-mom's room, telling her to kick me out of the house. And that day when the food poisoning incident happened, it was my best friend who put purgative in the food. Later on, she admitted all her fraud, saying it was because she was jealous of me. My best friend was kept in jail for everything she'd done to me, and I never saw my ex-mom again until one day. I went to a hair salon and I saw her working there. She was surprised and ashamed when she saw me. I approached her and told her to move in with me. She wasn't a bad person after all. She just made a mistake. And everyone deserved a second chance, didn't they? Growing up, I was a huge fan of singing and dancing, but my mom and dad didn't have money for my extra lessons. What I had was a bedroom floor, 2 speakers, and an endless amount of energy. I'd dance and sing for hours until my chest burned. My parents saw that fire, sacrificed everything, and put me on a plane to the other side of the world. Years of brutal training paid off. I finally debuted. It was a dream come true. I became a K-pop idol. And then, in a single afternoon, it was all snatched away. A girl from my old school spread rumors, bullying allegations. No one asked for my side. I was dropped from the group overnight. Devastated and hopeless, I emptied my savings to fly home. But when I landed, I didn't go back to a safe haven. I went straight to an ICU room. My mom had been hiding her illness for months so I wouldn't lose focus. I stood by her side. I couldn't hold my tears. Her last words to me were,
"You were born a star, honey. Never lose hope. Remember, I'm your first fan."
Then she closed her eyes forever. I was broke, grieving, and broken, but I didn't give up on my dream. Waitressing by day, practicing vocal runs and choreography at night, I was exhausted, but mom's last words fueled me every time I felt down. One day while I was working, the same girl who ruined my life walked into my restaurant. I confronted her, and she admitted the truth. There was no bullying at all. She was just jealous. She made it all up to ruin my reputation. A customer recognized me, recorded everything, and then uploaded the video on the internet. The truth cleared my name, and millions of people suddenly wanted me back. An agent even showed up at my door with a big contract, promising to make me a K-pop idol again. I looked at that contract, smiled. I turned him down and I walked away. I didn't need their system anymore. It was time for me to walk on my path. I built my own company, small at first, but built on truth. I wanted to uplift young artists so no one could ever tear their dreams down the way mine were. I got fans all over the world, but I'd never forget the one who supported me from the beginning. She was my first fan, my last fan, my forever and ever fan. My family wasn't like any other family. My mom, dad, and sister all had blazing red hair and the power to create fire. They made millions doing TV interviews and performing, while I, the ordinary blonde kid with 0 abilities, stayed home to cook and clean. To make my own cash, I took a part-time job at a local restaurant. One evening, walking home from work, I saw our house fully ablaze from afar. Panic hit me, instantly followed by burning fury at my own uselessness. I couldn't help them. But then, something shifted inside me. The air grew freezing. I lifted my arms, channeled the intense cold rushing through my veins, and released it. A massive blast of ice snuffed the fire out instantly. My family stumbled out, safe. I gasped, finally realizing the truth. My ability wasn't fire, it was ice. I ran to tell them, expecting hugs, but when they saw me, they screamed. They blamed me for not taking care of the house, accusing me of letting the fire happen. They kicked me out on the street the next day. From then on, I worked at the restaurant in the daytime and slept wherever I could, from the bus stop to the street bench. Weeks later, the news broke. My family had vanished right after a major interview. Despite how they treated me, I couldn't just leave them to die. I tracked their schedule to an abandoned house outside the city. When I arrived, it was already engulfed in flames. I didn't hesitate. I used my ice to freeze the fire, bursting into the room where they were trapped. Their jaws dropped when they saw who was saving them. Turned out it was a setup. The kidnapper was a bitter magician who had lost his job to my family's real power fame. He was put in jail after all that he'd done. Things went back to normal. Well, for me at least. One morning, when I was working at the restaurant, my family walked in. They apologized. They wanted me to come back. My mom and my sister bursted into tears, and my dad even kneeled down to beg me to go home. I didn't know what to do. Should I forgive my family and go back to them? I was walking back from my late shift around midnight when the heavy rain started coming down in sheets. My phone was dead, and the streets were completely dark. Suddenly, a bright pair of headlights pulled up slowly to the curb right beside me. A middle-aged man in his police officer suit rolled down his window.
"Excuse me, miss.
He called out over the rain.
See that guy in the black raincoat 20 yards behind you? He's been trailing you."
Then he told me to get in his car and he'd drive me home safely. I looked back over my shoulder. A shadowed figure in a drenched black coat was standing under a dim street light. He was staring straight at me, holding a long, heavy axe in his hand. My heart dropped. I didn't even hesitate. I yanked the passenger door open, slid inside, and slammed it shut. The driver comforted me with a warm smile, reaching over to click the child lock buttons on the driver console.
You're completely safe in here.
He pulled back onto the road, but as we drove, my instincts started screaming. Instead of taking the main avenue toward my house, he made a sharp turn into an industrial warehouse zone. I confronted him, but he didn't look at me. His smile had completely vanished. The car slowed down in a pitch-black alley, then stopped next to a strange black car. A man stepped out of that car. It was the man in the drenched black raincoat, holding the axe. My blood ran ice cold. The police officer wasn't saving me. They both were the bad guys. He got out of the car and talked to the axe man for a while. I knew they were up to something terrible. Right then, I threw my weight over the center console. I slammed my foot onto the gas pedal with everything I had. I grabbed the steering wheel and slammed on the horn to draw any attention I could. I didn't know how long I had driven. I saw the police department and stopped the car. I rushed inside and told the police officer everything. I blacked out before he could say anything in reply. The next morning, I woke up to a horrifying news. 2 men arrested in the neighboring state for a ring of targeted abductions. The man in the black raincoat was the spotter. He would visibly follow women at night holding a weapon to terrorize them into seeking help. The man in the police officer jacket was the trapper. He would offer a safe ride away from the stalker and drive them straight into an isolated staging ground. The article noted that they had been operating for nearly 3 years, and I was the only victim who had ever escaped.